Hello everyone, it's Shadowswim here again with the patch 3.9 notes for League of Legends. So let's just jump right into things. These were uploaded a few minutes before, putting up this video. Well, recording this video rather. Actually, I'm recording it the same time it was put up, so let's jump into things. As always, I'm just going to cover everything, give you guys my thoughts on what's going on, do I like the changes, everything like that, and we'll go from there. So, again, let's just jump right into it. Champions, Brand, Pillar of Flame, mana cost reduced to 70, 75, 80, 85, 90 from 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. Configuration, mana cost increased to 70, 75, 80, 85, 90 from 60, 70, 65, 70, 75, 80. Pyrochasm, mana cost reduced to 100, 100, 100 from 100, 150, 200. So, overall Pillar of Flame, which it's his general early level farming tool, that costs less mana, whereas Conflagration will cost more mana. That allows him to go ahead and easily spread, his Blaze debuff onto champions that are staying behind the caster minions. He'll still have to cast Conflagration to get it on them if he misses them with, Pillar of Flame, but it'll cost about the same amount of mana. It's just Pillar of Flame, it doesn't seem as much mana as it did previously. So, I like that change in Pyrochasm. They've been doing this with other mage champions, so I'm not surprised to see this happen as well. Corki. A common Corki complaint is that he feels extremely mana constrained by the cost of Phosphorus Bomb. However, after looking at his abilities, Phosphorus Bomb needs to be expansive to balance out its lack of counterplay. So we instead reduce the cost on some other spells to make mana less of a constraint overall. Valkyrie, mana reduced to 50 from 100, so now it's 50 at all levels instead of 100 at all levels. Missile Barrage, mana cost reduced to 20 from 30, 35, 40. So his ultimate, regardless of level, only costs 20 mana. That's good. That'll make Corki players able to spam their abilities more frequently. I know on the chances I've played Corki, I felt after, one Valkyrie and one set of, say 3 missile barrages, I can't do anything, and then I die because I have no escape mechanism, because I used Valkyrie to get into battle. So, there's, I like that change. We'll just have to see how this affects him. Obviously, the patch isn't out yet unless they did just do the patch as I'm making this video, so who knows. Draven. We lowered the early game damage output of Draven. Let me try that again. We lowered the early game damage output Draven got from his passive since it wasn't adding much in terms of satisfying gameplay. Unfortunately, to get the numbers right, we realized we would need to reduce his passive damage to a point where it would be even less satisfying. We instead opted to rework Draven's passive altogether into something that reinforces his current gameplay. Something so Draven, even his opponents will feel begrudged to applaud. Welcome to the League of Draven. League of Draven, new passive. When Draven catches a spinning axe or kills a minion or monster, he gains a stack of Adornation. When Draven kills an enemy champion, he consumes half of his Ordination stacks and gains 3 gold per stack consumed. Draven loses half of his Adornation stacks upon death. So, meaning you have that higher chance of getting that bonus gold, regardless of if somebody's on a streak or not. You can still get bonus gold for killing somebody as Draven, whether it be with your ultimate, whether it be with, just auto attacks, whether it be with your spinning axes, whatever it may be, you can still get bonus gold, and it's not, a dramatic change. That just helps further reinforce, hey, you might want to farm a bit before going in for those champion kills, so you have some incentive of, trying to last hit, trying to, get the golems at the bottom or whatever. You have those nice incentives now to go ahead and do that, so it's not just like, oh, it's, just run of the mill. No, this actually adds a little more incentive to last hit other than just being behind item-wise. You can still die as Draven, say you have 20 stacks, okay, you die because you got ganked, whatever. You come back to the lane, you get a kill, you still got more gold in that kill than you did previously, even if you did the same amount of damage. I can't complain on that one. I like that change. It's not too, it's not too imbalanced, but it still, again, goes back to the whole thing I referred to in my other video of the perfect imbalance, where, people just have to adapt with the meta and find out what works, what doesn't, so on and so forth. So, anyway, Evelynn. Agony's Embrace fixed a bug where the sated buff and visual effect appeared when Evelynn hit only spell shielded targets. Visual, it was only a visual change, so not a huge deal. Bug fix on that one, whatever. Hecarim. Rampage. Mana cost increased to 24, 28, 32, 36, 40 from 25. I know a lot of people were just pretty much just dying as Hecarim with full mana because they just couldn't spend all of their mana quick enough. He never had mana issues. Now this will hopefully make him, have to think twice about using his spells in succession sometimes. So I'm looking forward to that change as well. Janna. Monsoon. Fixed a bug where the icon, or the buff icon cooldown didn't properly match the 4-second channeling time. Glad they fixed that bug. I know people were ending that sort of early because they thought, hey, it's done, when it in fact wasn't. Jace. By increasing the cooldown on Jace's acceleration gate, we can keep his Shock Blast plus acceleration gate combo impactful while toning down his poke and disengage potential. In addition, since later in the game not every Shock Blast will be accelerated, we've increased the base speed of the ability to make it better as a standard or standalone skill shot. So Shock Blast. Basic missile speed increased to 45 or 1450 from 1350. Acceleration Shock Blast missile speed remains the same. So again, just, nice speed increase. It was needed because it did move rather slow without Acceleration Gate. Acceleration Gate cooldown increased to 16 seconds from 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. So 16 flat seconds now. It's still affected by CDR, it's just you won't get the 6-7 second acceleration gate that we're all used to unless you have 40% CDR, and even then it's tough. I like these two changes for him, and as usual we'll have to just see how this impacts him. I got a feeling people are going to oh, the new missile speed's an imba! Deal with it. Get used to it. It's like dodging a Nidalee spear. It's not hard. You just have to be aware of your surroundings. Kayle. Righteous Fury. AoE no longer affects towers. Okay. When did it ever? Every time I've played her, I've never seen my AoE affect towers. Ever. So, I guess I was just unlucky with it not affecting towers? I don't know. Kennen. Yordle made shurikens seem a little too sharp and pointy, so we've tuned down some of Kennen's early game lane harass, given how much teamfight potential he has. Base attack damage at level 1 reduced to 50.5 from 54.6. And Mark of the Storm max duration reduced to 6 seconds from 8. So, alright, whatever. That Mark of the Storm, it just means you have less of a safety net to hit the champions. You can't just pop it before you engage and have it still going while you're engaging at the full duration. You have to hit it while you're engaged, while the team fight's going on, to get that full benefit. Otherwise, you're just wasting precious seconds of your ultimate. And that base attack damage at level 1, not a huge deal, but I see what they wanted to do. They wanted to just make it fair. Let's be honest here, she was, the only ranged ADC that didn't go based off of mana? If he wanted to go ADC? So, yeah, I can see the point there. I'm just waiting to see how many people still mess up with Mark of the Storm on Kennen. We'll just have to see. LeBlanc. LeBlanc's Mimic was less a decision point and more of a tool to one-shot someone with Sigil of Silence. These changes aim to make Mimic equally interesting with other skills. For one, Mimic abilities will now deal their own base damage instead of amplifying the base spell. This means players will be able to use Mimic in more effective ways at level 6, rather than saving it for Sigil of Silence. Additionally, Sigil of Silence will now deal less damage up front, but more damage on detonation in order to promote LeBlanc's multi-skill interaction. And I just realized, by the way, that Mark of the Storm is Kennen's stun. No, not his stun, his passive. So, alright, whatever. That was messed up by me, but hey, I caught it. So, anyway, back to LeBlanc. Well, yeah, let's just read what they totally did. Mirror image. The mirror image will now attempt to run instead of standing still. Can't tell you how many times that's happened to me where, hey, mirror image popped. Oh, it's standing still while the real one's running. Oh, I'm dead because mirror image was standing still. Yeah, glad they fixed that. Sigil of Silence. Mana cost reduced to 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 from 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. So early game costs less, late game costs the same. Not a big deal. Damage changed to 55, 80, 105, 130, 155 plus 0.4 AP for both initial impact damage and the mark detonation damage. Impact damage was 70, 100, or 70, 110, 150, 190, 230 plus 0.6 AP. Mark was 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 plus 0.2. So overall does about the same damage for the detonation, but again, lesser impact up front. So, yeah, and silence duration reduced to 1.5 seconds from 2. Distortion. Cooldown now starts on cast rather than after returning to your distortion. Mana cost increased to 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 from 80, and fixed a bug where distortion was visible in the fog of war. Ethereal Chains. Slow duration and time until root reduced to 1.5 seconds from 2. Root duration changed to 1.5 seconds from 1, 1.3, 1.6, 1.9, 2.2. Cooldown increased to 14, 13, 12, 11, 10 from just a standard 10 seconds at all levels. Mimic. Mana cost reduced to 0 from 150, 0. All Mimic abilities now have their own base damage instead of amplifying the base spell's damage. Mimic Sigil of Silence now deals 100, 200, 300 plus 0.65 AP damage once the impact, and again if the mark is detonated. Mimic Distortion. Cooldown now starts on cast rather than after returning to your distortion. Now deals 150, 300, 450 plus 0.975 AP damage on impact. Mimic Ethereal Chains. Now deals 100, 200, 300 plus 0.65 AP damage once on the impact, and again if the target is rooted. So, really, they're making LeBlanc be more of a... have her more... Let me see if I can word this properly. They're making her have more of a flow instead of just, oh, your burst is done, you're useless. They actually want her to have a nice flow and a rhythm to her, to where it's not just like, oh, sigil, mimic, sigil, done. It's not that anymore. You have to actually, kind of think about your spells before you cast them and be smart about them. So I can't wait to see these changes implemented, and I want to see how many people are like, oh, LeBlanc is so... they need to buffer now, because they're not going to know how to deal with the schedule change. I'm just waiting on that one, personally. Malzahar, Call of the Void, now correctly grants vision of the entire line path. And damaged targets will now also become visible. Malefic Vision will now jump to an active will now jump when active on a zombified champion, i.e. Karthus, Kog'Maw, Zyra, etc. I see what they're saying. So when, say, Karthus dies, Zyra dies, or Kog'Maw dies, and any of those champions that revive for a few seconds after they're dead to do some extra damage, Malefic Vision will now jump. If it was on one of those champions, it'll jump to the closest target instead of just falling off. Glad they fixed that. That was a big issue I had whenever I did play Malzahar. So good on that. And Call of the Void, glad they fixed those two big bugbears as well. About time they fixed them, by the way. Master Yi, Double Strike, fixed a bug where Ginsu's Rage Blade wasn't properly given 2 stacks. What? Alright, whatever. I don't know about that one. I've never seen a Master Yi use Ginsu's Rage Blade. I don't usually follow, all pros and stuff like that, because 90% of the time, they're not even doing it right. Well, I'm sorry, 90% of the time, they're doing it right, 10% they're not, and half the time you get the people, that are silver and stuff like that, trying to be like the pros. They see, pro just went Jarvan or Jake's middle, I'll do that! And then wind up failing because they're not pros. They don't know exactly what to do in certain situations. So, yes, if you had a Ginsu's Rage Blade build on Master Yi, you guys are probably happy that this bug was fixed. If you're like me and you never got that on Yi, then it doesn't, it doesn't affect you whatsoever. Moving on, Morgana, Dark Binding, fixed a bug where Dark Binding wasn't properly snaring stealth champions. So I'm assuming that applies to Shaco, Twitch, Evelyn, those champions right there, because they're one of the few, as well as Rengar, that can go ahead and stealth, as well as Kha'Zix. So yeah, they're few. So I'm glad they finally fixed that bug where it never snared stealth champions. Even if you knew the stealth champion was right in front of you. That was a big bug. I'm glad they fixed that. Nasus, Siphoning Strike. Bonus damage now displayed as a buff on Nasus. Okay, not a huge deal, whatever. Nautilus, Dredgeline. No longer travels through some walls. Okay, never had that, be an issue, but hey, glad they fixed that. Nunu. We've reduced overall damage of Consume to prevent from outsmiting Smite at rank 1. Okay, for those of you that don't understand what that means, pretty much Nunu in jungle had 2 smites. That pretty much was, you wouldn't even need Smite as jungle Nunu, because your Consume acted as your Smite. It was spammable, and hey, it was cheap. And also, look at this. First of all, health per level reduced to 96 from 108. Okay. Consume. Damage reduced to 500, 675, 750, 875, 1,000 from 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. So last level, it'll still consume, still do 1,000 damage. But early levels, it won't do nearly as much. As we can see, at level 1, it's 100 damage difference. At level 2, it's a 75 damage difference. And it goes up from there. All the way up until it's no difference whatsoever. But yeah, glad they changed that, because that was really big. He was clearing jungle camps a little too quickly. But yeah, glad they finally fixed that. I know a lot of people were posting on the forums about that. Glad it's fixed. Orianna, Command Protect. Oriana now gains a passive range indicator that shows the range at which the ball will return to her when attached to an allied champion. Alright, nice little visual they added there. Glad they did that. Pantheon, Spear Shot. Fixed a bug where Spear Shot was not scaling with bonus critical strike damage when hitting an enemy below 15%. For those of you that don't know, Pantheon's W, I forget the name of it for the life of me, but you guys have seen it before. It's when he tosses his spear, like, in a small little cone in front of him for about 2 seconds and does a decent amount of damage. That, whenever anything was below 15% health, he had a 100% chance to crit on them with either his auto attack or spear shot. So, I've done it in ARAMs where I've just completely one-shot people because my spear did 400 damage because it crit. But, I'm glad that, it finally, takes into account for Infinity Edge as well, because Infinity Edge is the only thing that gave you bonus critical strike damage. Unless you were going with marks and runes and stuff like that that also do that. So, again, glad they fixed that. It was a big deal. That's the difference between killing somebody and them just barely getting away with 2 health. Riven, Broken Wings. Fixed a bug that made it possible to chain more than 3 strikes. I've never played Riven. Well, I've played Riven, I just forget what ability that is for her, so I assume that's a very, very, very amazing bug fix for people that were going against Riven. I very rarely see her when I play, so it didn't affect me all that much. Shen, Key Strike. Fixed a bug where the visual effect wasn't properly appearing at the start of the game. Alright, not a big deal, they fixed a bug. Again, not a big deal. Shyvana, where repositioning Flame Breath as a core tool for objective control and fast jungle clearing, while also emphasizing its use as a burn down ability to be followed up with auto attacks against tankier fighters. We've also fixed a long-standing bug with Shyvana's Burnout, where it was scaling without attack damage while in dragon form. This fix, along with her increased Fury gains and reduced Fury decay, will help her in late-game teamfights. Lastly, we've moved the description of her previous passive effect to their new ability tooltips to help centralize information. Fury of the Dragonborn, remade. All Fury of the Dragonborn effects have been moved to their respective abilities. Dragonborn now gains 5, 10, 15, 20 armor and magic resist. These effects are doubled in dragon form. Okay, whatever. Flame Breath no longer reduces armor by 15%. Now passes through all units instead of stopping at the first. Debuff duration increased to 5 seconds from 4. Damage reduced to 80, 115, 150, 185, 220 from 80, 125, 170, 215, 260. On-hit magic damage to debuffed targets will change. Let me retry that again. On-hit magic damage to debuffed targets changed to 2% of the target's maximum health from 15% of Flame Breath's damage. 12, 18.75, 25.5, 32.5, or 25, and 19 or 39 plus 0.09 AP. So, Flame Breath in general, if I'm reading this correctly, it's more of a cone for damage than it is for just shredding armor. That's from what I'm getting, at least. I don't necessarily understand this part. I don't understand this last sentence right here. I understand, the damage changed, but I don't understand what it did. So, I'm gonna have to play with Shyvana a little bit, once this buff goes live, and understand it fully. Burnout. Fix a bug where Burnout wasn't scaling with attack damage when Shyvana was in dragon form. Glad they changed that because, again, difference between killing somebody and them living. Dragon's Descent. Passive armor magic resist component removed. Passive Fury gain increased to 123 per level, or per 1.5 seconds from 111. Fury Decay while in dragon form reduced to 5 per second from 6 per second. I've had those instances where I've had like dragon form up for good 30-40 seconds, maybe more, so this will allow me to go even further. But yeah, I'm glad that they changed Shyvana a little bit, so that way she's more noob friendly. I shouldn't even say noob friendly. She's more she's more friendly to novice players. That's all. She's more friendly for novice players to play, but still intact with that whole late game, pro player. Even if you're Silver League like I am, you're still able to play Shyvana at a good level, and you're still able to make sense of her abilities. Because I know a lot of people that are like, they don't understand that her Q, also refreshes her auto attack for that quick second. So, yeah. Glad they are making her a little more novice friendly. Thresh. After initially using Death Sentence, the tooltip will now describe his Death Leap ability. So, there's that. Death Sentence is his Q, that's his pull, so now whenever he activates it and he's latched onto somebody, it'll show what Death Leap does. That's good. Glad they changed the tooltip to actually be able to do that as well. Twitch. Hide in Shadows. Fixed a bug where Twitch would revive in stealth when Guardian Angel or Chrono Shift was active on him. So, yeah, there's none of that, hey, I'm about to die, but I have Guardian Angel. Stealth! Revive in stealth, yeah! Good thing they changed that. That was a big bugbear, and you're like, you know exactly where he's spawning, because he has a Guardian Angel, but then he's in stealth. Like, what the hell? He shouldn't be in stealth. Again, glad they fixed that. Vayne. Final Hour. Stealth from Final Hour will now probably be broken upon launching a basic attack. Thank you! I can't tell you how many times I've seen Vaynes, whether I'm casting or playing against them or playing as her, where I've seen auto attacks go through and she's still stealth. Thank you! That was a big bug I wanted to see fixed. Zac. Elastic Slingshot. Fixed a bug where aiming could preemptively break the target's spell shield. Or spell shields. Alright, I don't exactly know what that means, but hey, glad they fixed it. Ziggs. We wanted to make it easier and more rewarding for Ziggs to use Satchel Charge offensively, whether by detonating it immediately or leaving it as threatening on the battlefield to zone opponents. We also wanted to make Satchel Charge noticeably easier for players, or noticeably easier to use for players with moderately high latency. Satchel Charge can now be reactivated while in fight, causing the Satchel Charge to detonate on landing, or while in flight rather. So that's nice. You no longer have to wait a full second and a half. You can just detonate it, hit the button again while it's in the air, and it'll detonate while it's landing, do some damage, and that's nice. Let's see. Missile speed increased to 1750 from 1600. Okay, means it travels faster. Increased knockback distance from 400 to 400 from 350. So now knocks people further back and knocks, I assume at least as well, knocks Ziggs further away. Cooldown now starts when Satchel Charge is cast, not when it detonates. Thank you! For those of you that have seen me mid as Ziggs before, you know how good I can be with Ziggs and how frustrating it is as Ziggs when you have to wait for your Satchel Charge to, detonate in order for you to get the cooldown going again. It sucked. I'm glad they fixed that. General champion notes. By consistently shifting between forms as they moved about the map, certain champions have been artificially accelerating their access to fully stacked team items or tier items. Muramana and Seraph's Embrace without using their mana. The following abilities no longer count as spellcast for the sake of items like Tear of the Goddess, Sheen, etc. Elise no longer gain mana from, with the Tear of the Goddess using her spider human form. Nidalee no longer get from using Aspect of the Cougar, meaning you can't just spam your ultimate and get the free stacks. Jace, same thing. Transform Mercury Hammer, Mercury Cannon. You no longer gain stacks from that. I know I did that a hell of a lot, abuse that. And I'm glad that, it's finally fixed. Because I can't tell you how many times I've seen Nidalee just sit in the bush, spam her ultimate because it's got a short cooldown, and just, hey, R, so that way she can go ahead and, get Tear of the Goddess stacked all the way up for Seraph's Embrace. I'm glad they fixed that. Or changed it, rather, not fixed it. Glad they changed it. We've normalized the hit delay on few spells that had slight discrepancies between when the spell was cast and what would take effect. The following abilities have had their hit delay normalized. Brand Pillar of Flame hit delay normalized to 0.625 seconds. Leona's Solar Flare hit delay normalized to 0.625 seconds as well. Swain's Nevermore hit delay normalized to 0.875 seconds, and Vigor's Dark Matter hit delay normalized to 1.25 seconds. Personally, I never had a problem with Brand's Pillar of Flame, Vigor's, I never had an issue with any of these, but for people with high latency, 300-400 ping rather, I can understand. I completely understand why they did that, so glad they changed it for people that don't really have the best internet right now. Not saying, hey, I have the best internet either, but I understand where they're coming from because I've had those experiences as well. Exhaust. When used on a CC immune champion, it will display can't be slowed. I guess that we can't, go ahead and, waste your exhaust on a Yi who has, his ultimate going. So, that's good. Disconnection. Summoners that disconnect while CC'd will properly run back to base. Thank you! I can't tell you how many times I've seen that as well. Again, whether I'm casting or I'm playing the game, where my ally or enemy DCs, while they're crowd controlled, like stunned or something like that, and they just stand there in place and wind up dying because, the server didn't realize, hey, person DC'd. They thought they were still incapacitated or whatever. Items. In order to alleviate some of the gold pressure on supports as they push for vision dominance, we made some changes to how Oracle's buff works, as well as reworked the reward for killing wards. First off, Oracle's elixir no longer expires upon death, meaning players can be more aggressive with Oracles rather than just passively clear warded areas they know will be safe. Secondly, the gold from destroying a ward will now be distributed between both players, or both the player who killed the ward and the player who, whether through oracles or placing vision wards, granted vision of that on that ward. So, wards. Vision and sight wards are now worth 30 gold, up from 25. Wriggle's Lantern gold is now 20 gold, up from 15. The reward structure for killing wards has been changed to the following. The killer of the ward gains 50% of the ward's base gold value. Nearby allied champions with oracles or allied champions that placed vision wards nearby split half the ward's base gold value. Meaning, if you are, say you're Sona support, you pink ward the tri-bush at bottom, and your jungle happens to see that tri-bush is warded, if the jungle comes in, kills their ward, the jungle gets 15 gold, you get 15 gold, because he killed it and you helped spot it. So, yeah. Sightstone and Ruby Sightstone now display the number of placed ghost wards in their inventory tooltip. Thank you! Can't tell you how many times I've seen people over-ward with, Ruby Sightstone. They're like, where are all my wards going? And they're over-warding where, when they've already consumed all of their stacks. So yeah. Oracle's Elixir no longer expires on death. Duration reduced to 4 minutes from 5. Invisibility detection radius reduced to 600 from 750. Now displays the radius on detection of the detection effect to the buffed player. Meaning, I assume, first of all, let's just go down the list. Alright, no longer goes away on death, so it's like it was previously, but it lasts 4 minutes from 5. So a minute less that it lasts, not a big difference. Yes, it's still 400 gold investment, but it's not a huge... it's not a huge deal if you die and you just popped it. You still have it for another, let's say, 3 minutes. So it'll take you... it'll take you about 30 seconds to res it, 30 seconds to get back to your lane, so you still have it for 3 minutes. Now the detection radius, it being displayed to the buffed player, I assume it's like the whole Abyssal Scepter, where if you hover over the buff, you see how big the radius is around you. So, yeah. That's how I have to assume, at least won't know till we see it in action. Oracle's Extract, invisibility detection reduced to 600 from 750. Now displays the radius to the affected, now displays the detection effect to the buffed player. So, not a big deal. They did the same thing to, they did the same thing to Oracle's Extract that they did with Oracle's Elixir. But it doesn't, it still expires after death. Tear of the Goddess and Manamune were stacking up far too quickly given their low cost. So, we've increased the cooldown per charge. On the other hand, Archangel Staff is a top tier item and requires a higher gold investment, so we wanted to reward players who chose to invest in changing their Archangel Staff faster. Tear of the Goddess, unique passive mana charge. Cooldown per charge increased to 4 seconds from 3. Updated the tooltip to clarify its actual functionality. Manamune, upgrade or unique passive mana charge. Cooldown per charge increased to 4 seconds from 3 seconds. Updated the tooltip to clarify its actual functionality. Archangel Staff unique passive mana charge. Mana gained increased to 8 from 6. Cooldown per level or cooldown per charge increased to 4 from 3. Updated the tooltip to clarify its actual functionality. So, in short here, for those of you middle champions, that rushed, that got an Archangel Staff, it's now more beneficial for you to get it earlier instead of trying to get your Tear of the Goddess stacks up earlier. And you people that get the Manamune, whether you be, the jungle, you're an AD mid, you're the ADC, whatever it may be, you'll be able to, you'll still be able to gain your stacks, it's just you'll gain them less frequently than you did before. Same thing with people with Archangel Staff, but Archangel Staff people get more mana. Therefore, they max out quicker, therefore they get Seraph's Embrace quicker instead of getting the Muramana quicker. Make sense? Okay, good. Previously, champions whose attack speed applied a secondary source of physical damage, we are looking at you, Jarvan, could unintentionally gain additional stacks of Black Cleaver's Shred with one hit. Characters like Shyvana or Renekton can apply multiple basic attacks at the same time will stack up shreds as normal. Black Cleaver can no longer apply more than one stack of armor shred with a single basic attack. Again, people like Shyvana or Renekton, you're still going to gain the same amounts of stacks, but Jarvan, he would gain, because his passive was based upon, it went off of auto attacks, so you would gain, quick 2 stacks off of that. No longer, you have to actually attack full 5 times in order to get that stack. We've made Maul of Melodious' passive bonus easier to understand at a glance. Now Maul will grant its maximum AD when the shield procs, so players will know exactly when they're at peak power. Maul of Memorious. Attack damage increased to 60 from 55, magic resistance increased to 40 from 36, passive now grants 1 attack damage for every 2% of missing health, up from 2.5, passive now capped at 35 damage, down from 40, fix a bug where the cooldown was not properly resetting when upgraded from a Hex Drinker on cooldown. What I'm gaining from that is higher base damage, lower stack damage, but it still does the same thing, and you no longer have to guess when you have those, when you have that maximum effect, when you're getting the most from it. So, it's good. It's good. Woogle's Witch Cap. Fixed a bug, or fixed several unintentional interactions with champion abilities and the stasis active. Zanya's Hourglass. Fixed non-intentional interaction with champions, or with champion abilities and the stasis effect. I guess Wooglet's Witch Cap is on Dominion? Because I've seen Zanya's Hourglass get, be bought on, Howling Abyss before, so I'm guessing it's on Dominion. Maps. Summoner's Rift. We've made some changes to death streaks in order to address strategies where repeatedly dying to lower your kill bounty could be used to gain an advantage. We know this may affect games where people are not intentionally dying, and we'll continue to monitor this. Death Streak. Gold values have been reworked to be in line with pre-season 3 values. Example: a player killed 3 times in a row without resetting is now worth 220 gold, previously 182. Player killed 6 times in a row is now worth 112 gold, previously 62. Maximum kill value of a champion increased to 50, previously 15. Oh, I'm sorry, minimum, not maximum. So what I'm understanding is you're going to be feeding regardless of, you're still giving them more gold now than you were previously, and this is just to help stop people that are unintentionally feeding, to lower their cost to to the enemy team. In patch 3.9, we're setting a new I'm actually trying to read this in the dark here. We're setting a new president by making separate map-specific balance changes to certain champions. The intent is not to reach a balancing Candace similar to Summoner's Rift, but to address some of the ingenuous balance outliers. My mind's just somewhere else right now. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just gonna read this silently for a second then. Okay, so what I gather is they're trying to make Twisted Treeline and Crystal Scar, because those are the 2 maps mentioned right here. They're trying to make them more balanced. In this case that Summoner's Rift is. Summoner's Rift is probably the most balanced map I've ever seen in any MOBA whatsoever. Literally, it's a mirror of itself. Where Dragon is on the left side of the map, if you were to flip the map over, there's Baron. It's asymmetrical, really. It's a mirror image of itself. Anyway, Twisted Treeline. Singed armor per level reduced to 2 from 3.5 on Twisted Treeline. Insanity Potion cooldown increased to 120 seconds from 100 on Twisted Treeline. Crystal Scar. Cassidon. Rift Wall cooldown increased to 987 seconds from 765 on Crystal Scar, Rift Walk cast range reduced to 600 from 700 on Crystal Scar. Howling Abyss added a new item, Orb of Winter. Recipe, Rejuvenation Bead plus Rejuvenation Bead plus Negatron Cloak. Total gold cost 2080. Combined cost is 1180. Gives you plus 70 magic resist, plus 20 health per 5. Unique passive grants a shield that absorbs damage. The shield will refresh after a short period without taking damage. For those of you that didn't watch the patch preview that Riot did, it's to help negate those giant poke teams that you see. Like, obviously you can help what your enemies get and stuff like that for ARAM, but it's to help deal with the teams like that have got Ziggs, Jace, Nidalee, let's say Cassiopeia, that's got a full poke team. This is to help people that know how to dodge the skill shots, but will still get hit once in a while. Game interface. Fixed a long-standing bug where attack move and move command could trigger while typing in chat. Fixed a bug or fixed a keyboarding or key binding issue where some modifier keys could not be used with certain keys and mouse buttons. And significantly improved performance when using item upgrade or when purchasing item upgrades. League system. Added the ability to spectate players and teams in Challenger tier via an option in the League menu. While viewing teams in League tab, clicking on a team will now show a list of the team's top players. General. We've worked with the player behavior team on a smaller change to remove the all latency ping, what ping displays except your own. After looking closely at the data, it seems that showing pings during loading screen can add toxicity to games before they even begin. Ultimately, we've come down to the conclusion that removing the ping display on champion load screen would lead to a healthier community overall, so we acted on it. The load screen now includes summoner icons. The progression bar has been removed due to space constraints, and the ping of the summoners has been removed. Okay, so I get what they're trying to do there. The rune page has been significantly reworked to provide a more responsive experience. Filtering out all runes of a given type, such as marks or seals, will cause it to turn gray, indicating that it's empty. Reverting the changes in the rune book will no longer changes which is being edited. It is now possible to open more than one rune page or one rune type at the same time in the rune inventory. Right-clicking or double-clicking to rapidly add runes doesn't require waiting for the animation to complete. Shifting the rune slots will slightly reduce certain pages, or shifted the rune slots to slightly reduce the certain pages. Okay, or certain gaps rather. Ugh. The scroll bars have been made more responsive and easier to click. The dividers between effects in the stat pane now scale down when the scroll bar appears. Dragging a rune into place no longer highlights a slot near the drop target. Okay, rune combiner animation are now simpler and less CPU intensive. Rune combination filters now more consistent with rune page filters. Alright, never had an issue with that. Whatever. When smart cast range indicators are enabled, the key bindings for self-cast spells, all by default, will activate the ability immediately on pressing the key, rather than on key release. This matches the behavior of abilities when they are innately self-cast, such as Silver Spell Shield. additional tooltips and visual indicators to the client to more clearly convey which game modes, maps, and types are locked for new and lower level players. PvP.net will scale itself down to 1500 or 1150 by 720 or 1024 by 6400, whichever is most appropriate. The most common desktop resolutions will see their experience impacted, the most common desktop resolutions that will see their experience impacted are 1336 by 768, 1280 by 768, 1280 by 720, and 1182 by 864. And Logitech hardware support can now be disabled by adding Logitech support 0 to the general section in your game.cgf file. Alright, so yeah, I just want to go through all of that with you guys. I'm now hungry and I'm tired, so I'm gonna go get some dinner. And I know it's been a long-winded video. You know, this has been, about an hour video? So yeah, I'll let you guys go. You know, don't forget I am taking your League as well as your Dota 2 replays. Don't forget to send them to sgamingtech@gmail.com, and I will go ahead and cast them whenever I have the time. Other than that, my name has been Shadowswalm, and I will talk to you all next time. Also, don't forget to leave your comments down below if you guys like some of the changes that are happening to champions, if you dislike them, all that stuff. But again, hope you all have a good night, and I will see you all next time.